16. Exposition on the Sariputta Sutta. Thus, I shall explain the exposition on the Sariputta Sutta. 961. 955. Thus did the Venerable Sariputta ask, Never before have I seen, nor have I ever heard from anyone, such a beautiful speaker, the teacher of the world who came down from the Tuta heaven. 1. Never before have I seen means that never before in the past has it been seen by me, in this way, by this eye, in this bodily state. At that time, the Blessed One spent the rainy season at the Pandikambala Silasana, at the foot of the Parakataka tree in the realm of the 33 gods. Surrounded by a host of gods, he descended to the city of Sakasa via the central ladder made of jewels, one of 3 ladders made of gold, jewels, and silver. This vision had never been seen in the past. Therefore it is said, Never before have I seen. Thus did the Venerable Sariputta ask. Thus refers to the sequence of phrases, their conjunction, their perfect completion, the joining of letters, the cohesion of sentences, and the order of phrases. This is what is meant by thus. Venerable is a term of respect, an expression of reverence, imbued with respect and piety. This is what is meant by venerable. Sariputta is the name, designation, common name, appellation, title, or linguistic reference of that elder. Hence, thus did the Venerable Sariputta ask. Nor have I ever heard from anyone. Not signifies negation. Anyone refers to whether it be a noble, a Brahmin, a commoner, a servant, a householder, a renunciant, a god, or a human. Therefore, nor have I ever heard from anyone. Such a beautiful speaker, the teacher of the world. Such a beautiful speaker, a mellifluous orator, a beloved speaker whose words resonate deeply like the melodious call of the Kalavika bird. Moreover, the voice of the Blessed One possesses 8 qualities: clarity, intelligibility, beauty, compellingness, smoothness, focus, profundity, and grandeur. When the Blessed One speaks, his voice does not extend beyond the assembly but reaches only those present. Truly, he is one with a Brahma-like voice, a speaker as sweet as the Kalavika bird. Therefore, such a beautiful speaker, the teacher of the world, the Blessed One, the teacher, Satyr, is like the caravan leader, Satavaha, just as a caravan leader guides the caravan across difficult terrains, deserts, bandit-infested areas, wild beast territories, famine-stricken lands, and waterless expanses, bringing them safely to their destination. So too does the Blessed One lead sentient beings across the perils of birth, aging, sickness, abbreviated, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair, greed, anger, delusion, pride, wrong views, defilements, and evil deeds. He helps them transcend the thickets of these afflictions, guiding them to the ultimate peace, the deathless nibbana. Thus, the Blessed One is like the caravan leader. Furthermore, the Blessed One is the guide, the instructor, the director, the herald, the convincer, the observer, and the inspirer of faith. In this way, too, the Blessed One is the caravan leader. Moreover, the Blessed One brings forth paths that have not yet arisen, produces paths that have not yet been generated, proclaims paths that have not yet been taught. He is the knower of the path, the wise one of the path, the expert in the path. His disciples, following the path in the present, later become fully equipped with his teachings. Thus, the Blessed One is the caravan leader. Therefore, such a beautiful speaker, the teacher of the world, the leader of the world who came from the Tuta heaven. The Blessed One passed away from the Tuta heaven and entered his mother's womb with mindfulness and clear comprehension. Therefore, the leader of the world who came from the Tuta heaven. Furthermore, or rather, the gods of heaven are referred to as the gods of Tuta. They are those who are content, equally content, have attained their own will, are joyful, and have generated delight and pleasure, and from that heavenly realm, they have come as the teacher of the masses. Therefore, it is also said in this way, the teacher of the world who came from Tuta heaven. Furthermore, or rather, the Arhats are referred to as the gods of Tuta. They are those who are content, equally content, have attained their own will, are joyful, and have generated delight and pleasure, and among these arhats, he has come as the teacher of the masses. Therefore, it is also said in this way, the teacher of the world who came from Tuta heaven. The teacher of the masses means the Blessed One is the teacher of the masses, and thus, the teacher of the masses. The one who teaches the masses, and thus, the teacher of the masses. The one who protects the masses thoroughly, and thus, the teacher of the masses. The one who instructs the masses, and thus, the teacher of the masses. The one who approaches the masses free from fear and trembling, and thus, the teacher of the masses. The one whom the masses listen to, incline their ears to, and bring forth a mind of understanding, and thus, the teacher of the masses. The one who leads the masses away from what is unwholesome and establishes them in what is wholesome, and thus, the teacher of the masses. He is the teacher of the masses for the community of monks, the community of nuns, the lay followers, Upasaka, the female lay followers, Upasika, the community of kings, the community of nobles, the community of Brahmins, the community of commoners, the community of servants, the community of gods, the community of Brahma, the teacher of the masses. He is the teacher of the Sangha, the teacher of the masses, and the master of the masses. Came refers to one who approached closely, arrived, and came to the city of Sakasa. Therefore, the teacher of the world who came from Tuta heaven. Thereby the elder Sariputta said, thus did the venerable Sariputta ask, never before in the past have I seen, nor have I ever heard from anyone, such a beautiful speaker, the teacher of the world who came from Tuta heaven as the teacher of the masses. 962. 956. Thus, the enlightened one, Buddha, removing all darkness, has indeed, alone, reached true joy, visible to the world including the gods. 2. The world including the gods refers to the world including gods, Mara, Brahma, ascetics, and Brahmins, including gods and humans. Therefore, the world including the gods. Visible with clear sight, the one with eyes means, for instance, the blessed one sitting on the Pandakambala at the root of the Parakataka tree in the abode of the 33 gods, teaching the Dhamma, is seen by the gods, and thus humans see him. That is, just as humans see, so do the gods. Just as the gods see, so do humans. Therefore, it is also said in this way, visible with clear sight, the one with eyes. Moreover, or rather, for example, some noble ascetics and Brahmins of other sects, though not yet tamed, appear as if tamed. Though their minds are not calm, they appear as if calm. Though not tranquil, they appear as if tranquil. Though not extinguished, they appear as if extinguished. In verse it is said, like earrings of clay, like copper coins covered with gold. There are those who seem to be of such form. Surrounded by followers, they walk in the world, unclean within, shining brilliantly without. The Blessed One does not appear in this way. The Blessed One, in fact, appears as truly tamed by reality, truth as it is, non-deceptive by his own nature, already tamed, appearing as tamed, whose mind is calm, appearing as calm, tranquil, appearing as tranquil, extinguished, appearing as extinguished. And the awakened ones, the blessed ones, are those who have fulfilled their vows, who do not contemplate the path of conduct in their minds. Therefore, it is also said in this way, visible with clear sight, the one with eyes. Furthermore, or rather, the Blessed One is one with a pure reputation, possessing honor and fame, and furthermore, even in the realm of dragons, in the realm of Garuas, in the realm of Yakas, in the realm of Asuras, in the realm of Gandharvas, in the abode of the great King of Heaven, in the abode of Indra, in the abode of Brahma, in the abode of the gods, and being such a one, and also that kind of person, and further, more than that. Therefore, it is also said in this way, visible with clear sight, the one with eyes. Furthermore, or rather, the Blessed One possesses the 10 powers, the 4 kinds of fearlessness, the 4 kinds of unhinderedness, the 6 divine knowledges, and the 6 qualities of the Awakened One, and is seen, known, and understood through majesty, power, virtue, effort, and wisdom. In verse it is said, the righteous ones are known even from afar, like the peaks of the Himavanta, Himalayas. The unrighteous ones are unseen even when present, like arrows shot in the night. Therefore, it is also said in this way, visible with clear sight, the one with eyes. For example, just as fish and turtles or even great fish move about everywhere within the vast ocean, Precisely in this way, the world, including gods, Mara, Brahma, ascetics and Brahmins, and people, including gods and humans, move about everywhere within the wisdom of the awakened one. Just as winged creatures, or even Garua, the celestial bird, soar throughout the expanse of the sky, precisely in this way, those who are equal to Sariputta in wisdom also move about within the sphere of the awakened one's wisdom. The wisdom of the awakened one fills and surpasses the wisdom of both gods and humans. Thus, the wise ones among nobles, Brahmins, householders, and ascetics, those who are subtle, engage in debates with others, and possess penetrating insight, break through various false views while walking the world. Though they prepare questions and approach the Tathagata to inquire about hidden and concealed matters, these questions are addressed by the Blessed One, whose answers resolve the queries completely, and those questioners achieve fulfillment for the sake of the Blessed One. In this way, the Blessed One shines forth in that moment through wisdom. Therefore, it is said, the Blessed One is one who has eyes due to the eye of wisdom. For, how is it that the Blessed One is also one who has eyes through the eye of an awakened one? The Blessed One, with the eye of an awakened one, surveyed the world and saw sentient beings, those with little dust, those with much dust, those with sharp faculties, those with weak faculties, those of good conduct, those of bad conduct, those easy to instruct, those difficult to instruct, some who dwell in the world seeing the terror of another world's sins, and others who do not see such terror. It is like this, whether in a blue lotus pond, red lotus pond, or white lotus pond, some lotuses grow submerged in water without rising above it. Others grow equally but rest upon the surface of the water. Still others rise above the water and remain unstained by it. Precisely in this way, the Blessed One, with the eye of an awakened one, surveyed the world and saw sentient beings, those with little dust, those with much dust, those with sharp faculties, those with weak faculties, those of good conduct, those of bad conduct, those easy to instruct, those difficult to instruct, some who dwell in the world seeing the terror of another world's sins, and others who do not see such terror. The Blessed One knows, this person acts out of greed, this person acts out of anger, this person acts out of delusion, this person acts out of thoughtfulness, this person acts out of faith, this person acts out of wisdom. For the person acting out of greed, the Blessed One teaches the contemplation of impurity. For the person acting out of anger, he teaches the practice of loving-kindness meditation. For the person acting out of delusion, he establishes them through recitation of scriptures, questioning on doctrines, timely hearing of the Dhamma, timely discussion of the Dhamma, and dwelling with the teacher. For the person acting out of thoughtfulness, he teaches mindfulness of breathing. For the person acting out of faith, he reveals objects worthy of reverence, the perfect enlightenment of the Buddha, the excellence of the Dhamma, the noble practice of the Sangha, and his own pure discipline. For the person acting out of wisdom, he teaches the practice of insight meditation, contemplating impermanence, suffering, and non-self. In verse it is said, just as one standing on a mountain peak might survey all the people below, so too does the deeply thoughtful one, possessing the eye of wisdom, ascend the lofty tower made of Dhamma, free from sorrow, and gaze upon sorrowful beings conquered by birth and aging. Thus, the Blessed One is also one who has eyes through the eye of an awakened one. 5. How is it that the Blessed One is also one who has eyes through the all-encompassing eye? The all-encompassing eye is declared to be the wisdom of the Omniscient. The Blessed One possesses, has perfected, owns, fully embodies, holds, and is endowed with the wisdom of the Omniscient. In verse it is said, for him, there is nothing in this world unseen, nothing unknown, nothing unknowable. If there exists anything that should be guided or clarified, he has realized it all. Thus, the Tathagata is called the one with the all-seeing eye. Thus, the Blessed One is also one who has eyes through the all-encompassing eye. Therefore, it is said, he is clearly visible, the one with eyes. The removal of all darkness refers to the elimination, abandonment, and cessation of all forms of darkness. The darkness of greed, the darkness of anger, the darkness of delusion, the darkness of arrogance, the darkness of wrong views, the darkness of mental defilements, and the darkness of evil actions. It also refers to the eradication of that which creates blindness, that which causes a lack of vision, that which generates ignorance, the cessation of wisdom, and all things rooted in suffering that do not lead to nirvana. By removing, discarding, eliminating, and bringing these to cessation, one attains a state devoid of conditions. Thus, it is said, the removal of all darkness. Truly, alone. I have reached true joy means alone. The Blessed One is described as being alone in 6 ways. 1. By the designation of renunciation. 2. By the meaning of being without companions. 3. By the meaning of the abandonment of craving. 4. As one who is absolutely free from greed, anger, and delusion, and as one who is absolutely pure of mind. 5. As one who has reached the singular path. 6. As one who alone attains supreme perfect enlightenment. 1. How is the Blessed One alone by the designation of renunciation? Although still young, with black hair, and possessing the prime of fortunate youth, even as his tearful parents cried out, the Blessed One abandoned his family, cut off all the obstacles of household life, severed the bonds of children and spouse, broke away from relatives, friends, and companions, renounced accumulated wealth, shaved off his hair and beard, donned the ochre robes, left home to become a homeless wanderer, and entered a state of complete renunciation. Alone he walked, lived, conducted himself, maintained his practices, guarded his actions, preserved his body, and continued on this path. Thus, the Blessed One is alone by the designation of renunciation. 2. How is the Blessed One alone by the meaning of being without companions? As a renunciant, he dwelled in remote forested areas, wildernesses, and borderlands, places with few sounds, little noise, no human presence, suitable for solitude and meditation. He walked alone, went forth alone, stood alone, sat alone, made his resting place alone, entered villages alone for alms, returned alone, meditated alone in quiet places, practiced walking meditation alone, and thus lived, guarded his actions, preserved his body, and continued on this path. Thus, the Blessed One is alone by the meaning of being without companions. 3. How is the Blessed One alone by the meaning of the abandonment of craving? While dwelling alone, without companions, maintaining mindfulness, and exerting himself with zeal, at the foot of the Bodhi tree on the banks of the Naranjara River, he strove with great effort, defeated the army of Mara, the Dark One Namusi, and the retinue of negligence. Then he abandoned, removed, brought to cessation, and reached a state devoid of craving's entanglements, its flow, and its attachments. In verse it is said, one who takes craving as a companion wanders through endless cycles of existence, never transcending the state or the next of birth and death. Knowing this danger, recognizing craving as the origin of suffering, abandon craving, let go of clinging, and wander about as a mindful monk. Thus, the Blessed One is alone by the meaning of the abandonment of craving. For, how is the Blessed One alone as one who is absolutely free from greed? Because greed has been abandoned, he is alone as one who is absolutely free from greed. Because anger has been abandoned, he is alone as one who is absolutely free from anger. Because delusion has been abandoned, he is alone as one who is absolutely free from delusion. And because all mental defilements have been abandoned, he is alone as one who is absolutely pure of mind. Thus, the Blessed One is alone as one who is absolutely free from greed. 5. How is the Blessed One alone as one who has reached the singular path? The singular path refers to the 4 foundations of mindfulness, contemplation of body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. The 4 right efforts to abandon existing unwholesome states, prevent new unwholesome states, cultivate new wholesome states, and maintain existing wholesome states. The 4 bases of spiritual power, desire, energy, mindfulness, and investigation. The 5 faculties, faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. The 5 powers, faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. The 7 factors of enlightenment, mindfulness, investigation of phenomena, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And the Noble Eightfold Path, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. In verse it is said, the Enlightened One, seeing the end and ultimate cessation of birth, compassionate and beneficial to others, knows the singular path. By this path, beings have crossed over in the past, will cross over in the future, and are crossing over now. Thus, the Blessed One is alone as one who has reached the singular path. 6. How is the Blessed One alone as one who, independently and supremely, attained perfect enlightenment? Enlightenment, bodhi, is explained as wisdom, intelligence, insight, prajna, the function of wisdom, faculty of discernment, the power of wisdom, the discriminating knowledge of truth, dhamma, right consideration, right observation, vipassana, insight meditation, and right view within the four paths of the Noble Ones, stream entry, once return, non-return, and arahantship. By that wisdom of enlightenment, the Blessed One realized all formations are impermanent, anicca. He realized all formations are suffering, dukkha. He realized all phenomena are without self, anatta. He realized, through the condition of ignorance, there are formations. Abbreviated, he realized, through the condition of birth, there is aging and death. He realized, from the cessation of ignorance, there is the cessation of formations. Abbreviated, he realized, from the cessation of birth, there is the cessation of aging and death. He realized, this is suffering. He realized, this is the origin of suffering. He realized, this is the cessation of suffering. He realized, this is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. He realized, these are the defilements. Abbreviated, he realized, this is the path leading to the cessation of the defilements. He realized, these phenomena must be known. He realized, these phenomena must be fully understood. He realized, these phenomena must be abandoned. He realized, these phenomena must be practiced. He realized, these phenomena must be realized. He realized the six sense bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, along with their arising, their cessation, their gratification, their danger, and their escape. He realized the five aggregates of clinging, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, along with their arising, their cessation, their gratification, their danger, and their escape. He realized the four great elements: earth, water, fire, wind, along with their arising, their cessation, their gratification, their danger, and their escape. He realized, whatever is subject to the nature of arising, all of it is subject to the nature of cessation. Moreover, or rather, whatever is to be realized, to be comprehended, to be awakened to be perfectly understood, to be attained, to be mastered, to be verified, all of it was realized, comprehended, awakened to, perfectly understood, attained, mastered, and verified by that wisdom of enlightenment. In this way, the Blessed One is alone as one who, independently and supremely, attained perfect enlightenment. To have reached true joy means to have reached, truly reached, attained, mastered, and verified the joy of detachment, the joy of seclusion, the joy of tranquility, the joy of enlightenment. Thus, truly alone, I have reached true joy. Thereby, the elder Sariputta said, just as clearly visible to the world, including the gods, the eye has removed all darkness, and truly, alone, has reached true joy. 963. 957. To the awakened one, the independent one, the peerless one, the truthful one, the teacher of the world who has come from to heaven, I have come with the purpose of inquiring, for the sake of the many bound beings in this world. The awakened one, the independent one, the peerless one, awakened one refers to him, the Blessed One, who became self-enlightened without a teacher, who personally realized truths never heard before in the past, and thereby attained omniscience. Furthermore, he attained mastery over various powers. What is the meaning of awakened one? One who has realized the truths, therefore awakened one. One who awakens others, therefore awakened one. One who is omniscient, therefore awakened one. One who sees all, therefore awakened one. One who is not led by others, therefore awakened one. One who transcends the world, therefore awakened one. One named as free from defilements, therefore awakened one. One named as pure, therefore awakened one. One who is absolutely free from greed, therefore awakened one. One who is absolutely free from anger, therefore awakened one. One who is absolutely free from delusion, therefore awakened one. One who is absolutely free from mental impurities, therefore awakened one. One who has reached the singular path, therefore awakened one. One who independently attained supreme enlightenment, therefore awakened one. One whose wisdom cannot be broken, and who has acquired wisdom, therefore awakened one. This name, awakened one, was not created by his mother, nor by his father, nor by his siblings, nor by his friends or companions, nor by his relatives, nor by ascetics or Brahmins, nor by the gods. It represents the ultimate liberation and is the concept designation that verifies the attainment of omniscience under the Bodhi tree by the awakened ones, the blessed ones. This is the awakened one. The independent one refers to two kinds of support dependencies: 1, the support of craving, and 2, the support of views. 1. What is the support of craving? Whatever is called craving, by which boundaries are created, constraints are established, limits are set, extremes are defined, and everything within those bounds is grasped and claimed as mine. This is mine. This belongs to me. This much is mine. Only this is mine. My forms, my sounds, my odors, my tastes, my tactile sensations, my mats, my clothes, my servants and slaves, my goats and sheep, my chickens and pigs, my elephants, cows, horses, and mules, my fields, my lands, my coins, my gold, my villages, towns and capitals, my country, my region, my storehouses, and my treasuries. Even the entirety of the vast earth is claimed through craving. All things within the scope of the 108 cravings constitute the support of craving. 2. What is the support of views? The view of having a self with 20 attributes, the 10 wrong views, the 10 extreme views, namely such forms as views, establishment of views, fixation on views, difficulties of views, chaos of views, disputes over views, bondage of views, grasping, acceptance, attachment, bias, false paths, wrong practices, corrupted states, heterodox positions, grasping at inverted things, grasping at overturned things, grasping at distorted things, incorrect grasping, claiming something as it is when it is not. All these, up to 62 evil views, constitute the support of views. The dependencies of craving of the Blessed One, the Awakened One, have already been abandoned, and the dependencies of views have already been renounced. Because the dependencies of craving have already been abandoned and the dependencies of views have already been renounced, the Blessed One does not rely on the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind, nor on forms, sounds, odors, tastes, tactile sensations, houses, communities, dwellings, gains, fame, praise, pleasures, clothing, alms, food, bedding, medicines for sickness, or any other necessities, nor on the realm of desire, the realm of form, the formless realm, the survival in desire, the survival in form, the formless survival, the survival of perception, the survival without perception, the survival neither with perception nor without perception, survival as one aggregate, survival as four aggregates, survival as five aggregates, the past, the future, the present, or any phenomena that can be seen, heard, thought, or cognized. He lives in the world without dependency, without attachment, without clinging thoughts, without close adherence, without fixation, without belief, free from desire, liberated, unbound, released from constraints, and with a mind that has relinquished all bonds. Therefore, in that awakened one, there is no dependency. The one who is such refers to the Blessed One, who is such, the one who truly conforms to reality, in 5 aspects. 1. Being such towards the pleasant and the unpleasant. 2. Being such as one who has abandoned. 3. Being such as one who has transcended. 4. Being such as one who has released. 5. Being such because of explaining it. 1. How is the Blessed One such towards the pleasant and the unpleasant? The Blessed One is such towards gain and also towards lack of gain, towards fame and also towards lack of fame, towards praise and also towards blame, towards pleasure and also towards pain. Whether some people anoint their arms with perfume or others strike their arms with a hatchet, there is no greed towards them, and there is no hostility towards them. He has abandoned both attraction and aversion, overcome excitement and disappointment, and equally transcended sympathy and antipathy. In this way, the Blessed One is such towards the pleasant and the unpleasant. 2. How is the Blessed One such as one who has abandoned? For the Blessed One, greed has been abandoned, discarded, released, renounced and let go, anger, delusion, rage, resentment, hypocrisy, cruelty, stinginess, fascination, cunning, obstinacy, agitation, conceit, arrogance, negligence, all defilements of the mind, all evil deeds, all distress, all suffering, all anguish, all unwholesome actions have been abandoned, discarded, released, renounced, and let go. Thus, the Blessed One is such as one who has abandoned. 3. How is the Blessed One such as one who has transcended? The Blessed One has crossed over the flood of craving, the flood of existence, the flood of views, and the flood of ignorance. He has crossed over all paths of samsara, ascended, risen above, transcended, equally surpassed, and overcome. He is one who has lived the holy life, walked the path, left the journey, gone towards nirvana, reached the ultimate end, guarded the holy life, attained the highest view, practiced the path, abandoned the defilements, understood the state of immovability, arahantship, and realized the cessation, nirvana. For him, suffering has been fully understood, the origin has been abandoned, the path has been practiced, cessation has been realized, what should be known has been known, what should be fully understood has been fully understood, what should be abandoned has been abandoned, what should be practiced has been practiced, and what should be realized has been realized. He is one who has removed the bolt, abandoned ignorance, filled the moat, abandoned samsara, pulled out the pillar, abandoned craving, become unbolted, abandoned the 5 lower fetters, lowered the banner of pride, abandoned self-consciousness, abandoned the 5 hindrances, possessed the 6 supports, renunciation in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mental objects, guarded by mindfulness, supported by the 4 foundations, wisdom in enjoyment, acceptance, avoidance, and removal, removed individual truths, prejudices, perfectly and rightly abandoned seeking, possesses clear and pure thought, calmed bodily formations, possesses a well-liberated mind, possesses well-liberated wisdom, is unified, completed the holy life, the foremost person, the supreme person, and has reached the highest attainable goal. He neither accumulates nor extracts, merit and demerit, having already extracted and abided in the world. He neither abandons nor grasps defilements, having already abandoned and abided in the world. He neither departs from nor approaches worldliness, having already departed and abided in the world. He neither abstains from smoking nor smokes worldly habits, having already abstained and abided in the world. Having fulfilled the category of morality, sila skanda, without further learning, he abides in the world. Having fulfilled the category of concentration, samadhi skanda, without further learning, he abides in the world. Having fulfilled the category of wisdom, prajna skanda, without further learning, he abides in the world. Having fulfilled the category of liberation without further learning, he abides in the world. Having fulfilled the category of the knowledge of liberation without further learning, he abides in the world. Practicing the truth equally, transcending agitation equally, completely extinguishing the fire of defilements, universally avoiding all destinations of samsara, possessing good fortune, enjoying release, abiding in perfect purity through loving kindness, matri, compassion, karu, joy, mudita, equanimity, upek, ultimate and complete purity through non-involvement, freedom from craving, liberation, contentment, at the limit of aggregates, skandhas, at the limit of realms, datas, at the limit of sense bases, ayatanas, at the limit of destinies, gatas, at the limit of rebirths, at the limit of conception, at the limit of existence, at the limit of samsara, at the limit of transmigration, at the limit of final existence, at the limit of the last accumulation of karma, and as the Blessed One preserving his final physical body. Thus, the verse says, for him, this is the last existence. This is the last accumulation of karma. The cycle of birth and death does not exist. There is no further existence for him. In this way, the Blessed One is such as one who has transcended. For in what way is the Blessed One, the thus gone one, called the liberated one? The mind of the Blessed One has been released, liberated, and fully liberated from greed. It has been released, liberated, and fully liberated from anger. It has been released, liberated, and fully liberated from delusion. It has been released, liberated, and fully liberated from rage, resentment, hypocrisy, cruelty, jealousy, stinginess, illusion, cunningness, stubbornness, agitation, conceit, arrogance, negligence, all defilements of the mind, all evil deeds, all distress, all suffering, all torment, all unwholesome actions. In this way, the Blessed One is called the Liberated One, the Thus Gone One. 5. In what way is the Blessed One called the Thus Gone One because of explaining it? When morality exists in the Blessed One, he explains it as one who possesses morality, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When faith exists, he explains it as one who possesses faith, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When effort exists, he explains it as one who possesses effort, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When mindfulness exists, he explains it as one who possesses mindfulness, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When concentration exists, he explains it as one who possesses concentration, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When wisdom exists, he explains it as one who possesses wisdom, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When the threefold knowledge, the three knowledges, knowledge of past lives, divine eye, and destruction of defilements, exists, he explains it as one who possesses the threefold knowledge, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. When the six divine powers, miraculous powers, divine hearing, mind reading, recollection of past lives, divine sight, and destruction of defilements, exist, he explains it as one who possesses the six divine powers, and thus he is the Thus Gone One. In this way, the Blessed One is called the Thus Gone One because of explaining it. Therefore, to the Awakened One, the Independent One, the Thus Gone One. To the One without falsehood, the Teacher of the world who has come from the Tuta heaven. The One without falsehood. There are three instances of falsehood. 1. The instance of falsehood named receiving daily necessities. 2. The instance of falsehood named conduct. 3. The instance of falsehood named riddles. 1. What is the instance of falsehood named receiving daily necessities? Here, householders invite a monk to receive various robes, alms food, bedding, and medicines for illness. That monk, being full of bad desires, dominated by his own cravings, considers these offerings as his goal. He clings to desiring more robes, alms food, bedding, and medicines for illness. Initially, he rejects them, saying, "What is the use of expensive robes for a monk? It is appropriate that a monk gathers rags from cemeteries, garbage heaps, or shop fronts to make a robe. What is the use of fine alms food for a monk? It is appropriate that a monk sustains himself with leftover food obtained through begging. What is the use of luxurious bedding for a monk? It is appropriate that a monk lives under the root of a tree, in a cemetery, or in the wilderness. What is the use of expensive medicines for illness for a monk? It is appropriate that a monk uses fermented cow urine or broken medicinal fruits as medicine. While clinging to such ideas, he wears coarse robes, eats coarse alms food, uses coarse bedding, and consumes coarse medicines. Householders then think of him as a monk with few desires, always content, secluded, free from worldly entanglements, diligent in practice, and preaching austerity. They increasingly invite him with more robes, alms food, bedding, and medicines. He says, "When three things are present, a faithful son of a good family produces much merit. First, faith being present, a faithful son of a good family produces much merit. Second, the Dharma offering being present, a faithful son of a good family produces much merit. Third, the recipients being present, a faithful son of a good family produces much merit. Indeed, you have faith, and the Dharma offering is equally found. Moreover, I am the one who accepts. If I do not accept, you will be completely devoid of merit. Though I have no personal interest in this, out of compassion for you, I accept." Clinging to this, he accepts even more robes, alms food, bedding, and medicines. This is the instance of falsehood named receiving daily necessities. 2. What is the instance of falsehood named conduct? Here, some individuals, full of bad desires and dominated by their own cravings, aspire to be honored by others, thinking, "This is how people will honor me." They pretend when walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. They act artificially when moving, standing, sitting, and arranging their sleeping place. They appear as if their minds are settled while walking, standing, sitting, and arranging their sleeping place, becoming superficial meditators visible to others. This is the instance of falsehood named conduct. 3. What is the instance of falsehood named riddles? Here, some individuals, full of bad desires and dominated by their own cravings, aspire to be honored by others, thinking, "This is how people will honor me." They speak words based on the holy Dharma teachings. They say, "If he wears such and such robes, he is a greatly powerful monk. If he possesses such and such a bowl, copper bowl, water jar, filter, bag, footwear, waistband cord, he is a greatly powerful monk. If he has such and such a preceptor, he is a greatly powerful monk. If he has such and such a teacher, equals among teachers, friends, peers, acquaintances, fellow practitioners, he is a greatly powerful monk. If he resides in such and such a monastery half-roof dwelling, tall building, storied building, cave, mountain cavern, hut, pavilion, watchtower, round room, hall, service hall, tent, under the root of a tree, he is a greatly powerful monk. Furthermore, or inversely, those who are pretentious, grimacing, false, loquacious, and verbally revered might say, "This monk has attained such and such profound absorptions into tranquil abodes." They speak profound, secret, intricate, concealed, and transcendent discourses related to emptiness. This is the instance of falsehood named riddles. These 3 instances of falsehood in the awakened one, the blessed one, have been abandoned, cut off, calmed, brought to rest, made incapable of arising again, and burned away by the fire of wisdom. Therefore, the awakened one is called the one without falsehood. Hence, to the one without falsehood, to the teacher of the world who has come from the Tuta heaven, the teacher of the world honored one, as the teacher of the masses, is called the teacher of the masses. He is the instructor for the masses. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. He thoroughly protects the masses. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. He instructs the masses. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. He teaches the masses. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. Being free from fear and trembling, he approaches the masses. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. The masses listen to his words, incline their ears, and arouse the mind of understanding. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. He leads the masses away from what is unwholesome and establishes them in what is wholesome. Thus, he is called the teacher of the masses. He is the teacher of the assembly of monks, the teacher of the assembly of nuns, the teacher of the laymen, Upasaka, the teacher of the laywomen, Upasika, the teacher of kings, the teacher of warriors, the teacher of Brahmins, the teacher of commoners, the teacher of servants, the teacher of gods, the teacher of Brahma beings. He is the teacher of the Sangha, the teacher of the masses, and the instructor of the masses. Has come means that he has closely approached, arrived at, or come to the city of Sankasa. Thus, to the teacher of the world who has come from the Tuta heaven, for the sake of many bound beings in this world, refers to many warriors, Brahmins, commoners, servants, householders, renunciants, gods, and humans. For the sake of bound beings refers to those who are bound, whose steps are fettered, serving others or disciples. Thus, for the sake of many bound beings in this world, inquiring with a purpose, I have come means that I exist as one who comes with inquiry as my purpose. I exist as one who desires to ask questions. I exist as one who desires to hear answers. Thus, it is also said, inquiring with a purpose I have come. Furthermore, or alternatively, for those who come with inquiry as their purpose, who desire to ask questions, who desire to hear answers, such coming, visiting, approaching, and serving exists and will exist. Thus, it is also said, inquiring with a purpose I have come. Furthermore, or alternatively, you have an inquirer who has come for questioning. You are also capable. You exist as one with sufficient selfhood to speak, to answer what I have asked. This is the burden of the carrier. Thus, it is also said, inquiring with a purpose I have come. Thereby, the elder Sariputta said, to the awakened one, the independent one, the thus gone one, the one without falsehood, the teacher of the world who has come from the Tuta heaven, inquiring with a purpose I have come for the sake of many bound beings in this world. 964. 958. For the monk who abhors worldly life, for the monk who is close to seats that have been abandoned and removed, or for the monk close to the roots of trees or charnel grounds, or for the monk who dwells in caves among the mountains. For the monk who abhors worldly life means for the monk, whether a good ordinary person or a monk still in training, who abhors worldly life refers to those who abhor worldly life due to birth, old age, illness, death, various sorrows, various laments, various pains, various disappointments, various conflicts, the suffering of hell, the suffering of the animal womb, the suffering of the realm of hungry ghosts, the suffering of humans, the suffering rooted in entering the womb, the suffering rooted in dwelling in the womb, the suffering rooted in emerging from the womb, the suffering connected to being born, the suffering of being under the control of others after being born, the suffering of one's own actions, self-harm, the suffering of others' actions, harm by others, the suffering of pain, the suffering of formations, the suffering of change, the suffering of eye diseases, the suffering of ear diseases, the suffering of nose diseases, the suffering of tongue diseases, the suffering of body diseases, the suffering of head diseases, the suffering of outer ear diseases, the suffering of mouth diseases, the suffering of tooth diseases, the suffering caused by coughing, asthma, colds, fever, aging, abdominal diseases, fainting, diarrhea, stomachaches, epidemics, leprosy, tumors, smallpox, lung diseases, epilepsy, skin problems, itching, scabies, scratches, scabs, bleeding, diabetes, hemorrhoids, boils, ulcers, the suffering of diseases equally arising from bile, equally arising from phlegm, equally arising from wind, internal energy metabolism, the suffering of diseases as a combination of the three causes, bile, phlegm, and wind, the suffering of diseases arising from seasonal changes, the suffering of diseases arising from maintaining unusual postures, the suffering of sudden diseases, the suffering of diseases arising from karmic retribution, the suffering caused by cold, heat, hunger, thirst, defecation, urination, the suffering caused by the contact of various flies, mosquitoes, wind, heat, and snakes, the suffering caused by the death of one's mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, the suffering caused by the calamities of relatives, property, illness, precepts, views, those who abhor worldly life, those who suffer, those who reproach themselves, those who detest. Thus, for the monk who abhors worldly life, for the monk who is close to seats that have been abandoned and removed, means that a seat is where one sits. It is explained as a sitting mat, chair, cushion, pillow, leather, grass mat, leaf mat, or straw mat. That seat has become distant, separated, and far removed from seeing improper forms, hearing improper sounds, and from the 5 improper attributes of desire, the 5 desirable objects: form, sound, smell, taste, touch. For the monk who is close to that distant seat, equally close, familiar, accustomed, equally familiar, or using it. Thus, for the monk who is close to seats that have been abandoned and removed, or for the monk close to the roots of trees or charnel grounds, means precisely that the roots of trees are the roots of trees, and precisely that charnel grounds are charnel grounds. Thus, or for the monk close to the roots of trees or charnel grounds, or for the monk who dwells in caves among the mountains, means precisely that mountains are mountains, precisely that caves are caves, and precisely that mountain caves are mountain caves. The middle of the mountains is explained as the mountain slopes. Thus, or for the monk who dwells in caves among the mountains. Thus, the elder Sariputta said, For the monk who abhors worldly life, for the monk close to seats that have been abandoned and removed, or for the monk close to the roots of trees or charnel grounds, or for the monk dwelling in caves among the mountains. 965. 959. In various high and low resting places, how many terrifying things are there? In a silent resting place, it is indeed the monk who does not waver even upon encountering them. 5. Various high and low resting places refers to various high and low, which includes various inferior and refined resting places, various good and bad resting places. A resting place is called a seat for sitting or lying down. It refers to a monastery, a half-roofed shelter, a tall building, a storied building, or a cave. Thus, in various high and low resting places, how many terrifying things are there? Refers to how many, meaning how many are crying, roaring, or making sounds. Furthermore, or alternatively, how many means how much they are, how many they are, how many things they are, or how many numerous things they are. Terrifying things refer to lions, tigers, leopards, bears, hyenas, wolves, water buffaloes, elephants, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, or thieves or violent youths, whether as those who have already committed acts, completed offenders, or as those who have yet to commit acts, attempted offenders, who should exist. Thus, how many terrifying things are there? It is indeed the monk who does not waver even upon encountering them means that indeed, upon encountering them, upon seeing or hearing those terrifying things, one should not waver, not strongly waver, not equally waver, not be afraid, not be fearful, not universally fear, not be terrified, not cause panic, but rather exist and dwell in the world as one without fear, without astonishment, without dread, as one who does not flee, as one who has abandoned fear and terror, as one who has departed from hair-raising experiences. Thus, it is indeed the monk who does not waver even upon encountering them. In a silent resting place refers to a resting place with little sound, little noise, no human presence, devoid of people, suitable for quiet sitting, a place for sitting or lying down. Thus, in a silent resting place. Thus, the elder Sariputta said, in various high and low resting places, how many terrifying things are there? In a silent resting place, it is indeed the monk who does not waver even upon encountering them. 966. 960. For one who is going towards an untraveled direction nirva, how many dangers are there in the world? In remote resting places, it is the monk who conquers them. 6. How many dangers are there in the world? Refers to how many, meaning how much they are, how many things they are, or how many numerous things they are. Various dangers refer to two kinds of various dangers. 1. Manifest dangers, and 2. Concealed dangers. 1. What are the manifest dangers? Lions, tigers, leopards, bears, hyenas, wolves, water buffaloes, elephants, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, or thieves or violent youths, whether as those who have already committed acts, completed offenders, or as those who have yet to commit acts, attempted offenders. Who should exist? Eye diseases, ear diseases, nose diseases, tongue diseases, body diseases, head diseases, outer ear diseases, mouth diseases, tooth diseases, coughs, asthma, colds, fevers, aging, abdominal diseases, fainting, diarrhea, stomachaches, epidemics, leprosy, tumors, smallpox, lung diseases, epilepsy, skin problems, itching, scabies, scratches, scabs, bleeding, diabetes, hemorrhoids, boils, ulcers, various sufferings arising equally from bile, various sufferings arising equally from phlegm, various sufferings arising equally from wind, internal energy metabolism, various sufferings as a combination of the three causes, bile, phlegm, and wind, various sufferings arising from seasonal changes, various sufferings arising from maintaining unusual postures, sudden various sufferings arising from the retribution of actions, karmic retribution, cold, heat, hunger, thirst, defecation, urination, contact with various flies, mosquitoes, wind, heat, and snakes, or such things. These are called manifest dangers. 2. What are the concealed dangers? Evil bodily conduct, evil verbal conduct, evil mental conduct, the hindrance of desire, greed, the hindrance of hatred, anger, the hindrance of mental dullness and drowsiness, lethargy and sleepiness, the hindrance of mental agitation and regret, restlessness and remorse, the hindrance of doubt, doubtful thoughts, greed, anger, delusion, resentment, grudge, hatred, pretense, covering up, cruelty, torment, jealousy, envy, stinginess, miserliness, deception, delusion, cunning, flattery, stubbornness, arrogance, rage, fury, conceit, pride, overweening pride, excessive pride, arrogance, haughtiness, negligence, all defilements, afflictions, all evil conduct, all distress, all suffering, all feverish suffering, all unwholesome actions, current actions. These are called concealed dangers. What are the various dangers, Paraseya? For what reason, meaning, do they become various dangers? 1. Universally defeating, parasahati, thus various dangers. 2. Equally arising due to universal decline, paraheya, thus various dangers. 3. As something to rely on, asaya, thus various dangers. 1. How does universally defeating make them various dangers? Those dangers defeat, universally defeat, conquer, overwhelm, completely rob, and trample upon that person. Thus, universally defeating makes them various dangers. 2. How do they become various dangers? By equally arising for the purpose of universal decline. Those dangers equally arise for the obstruction and universal decline of various good qualities. Dhammas. What are those good qualities? Dhammas? They are the correct path, the path that follows the truth, the path without opposition, enemies, the unobstructed path, the path in accordance with meaning, and the path where the Dhamma remains as the Dhamma. They include the fulfillment of moral discipline, the guarding of the sense faculties, indriyas, knowing the proper amount in eating, dedication to wakefulness, mindfulness and clear comprehension, devotion to the 4 foundations of mindfulness, body, feelings, mind, and mental objects, the 4 right efforts, to prevent and abandon unwholesome states, and to develop and maintain wholesome states, the 4 bases of spiritual power, desire, energy, mindfulness, and investigation, the 5 faculties, faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, the 5 powers, faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, the 7 factors of enlightenment, mindfulness, discrimination of dhammas, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity, and the noble eightfold path, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These good qualities, dhammas, are obstructed, universally declined, and equally arise. Thus, because they equally arise for the purpose of universal decline, they are called various dangers. 3. How do they become various dangers? By being something that relies on a place. In that place, these unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, arise and become the basis of one's own state. For example, just as creatures that rely on holes lie down in holes, creatures that rely on water lie down in water, creatures that rely on forests lie down in forests, and creatures that rely on trees lie down in trees. Precisely in this way, these unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, arise and become the basis of one's own state. Thus also, because they rely on a place, they are called various dangers. This is what was taught by the Blessed One. Monks. A monk who has internal disciples and a teacher dwells in suffering, without peace. Monks. How does a monk who has internal disciples and a teacher dwell in suffering, without peace? Monks. Here, a monk sees forms with the eye, and thoughts or reflections that are unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, arise which should be bound. They reside within him, because unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, flow into him, amvasavati. Therefore he is said to have internal disciples, antivasika. They become habitual to him. Because unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, become habitual to him, samdakarati. Therefore he is said to have a teacher, akariya. Monks, further again otherwise, A monk hears sounds with the ear, smells odors with the nose, tastes flavors with the tongue, touches tangible objects with the body, cognizes mental objects with the mind, and thoughts or reflections that are unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, arise which should be bound. They reside within him, because unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, flow into him. Therefore he is said to have internal disciples. They become habitual to him, because unwholesome and bad qualities, dhammas, become habitual to him. Therefore he is said to have a teacher. Monks, precisely in this way, a monk who has internal disciples and a teacher dwells in suffering without peace. Thus also, because they rely on a place, they are called various dangers. This is what was taught by the Blessed One. Monks, there are three things that become internal defilements, not internal friends, internal enemies, internal killers, and opponents of internal righteousness, benefit. What are these three things? Monks, greed, lobha, becomes an internal defilement, not an internal friend, an internal enemy, an internal killer, and an opponent of internal righteousness, benefit. Anger, dosa, briefly, delusion, moha, becomes an internal defilement, not an internal friend, an internal enemy, an internal killer, and an opponent of internal righteousness, benefit. Monks, precisely these three things become internal defilements, not internal friends, internal enemies, internal killers, and opponents of internal righteousness, benefit. In verse it is said, greed generates what is unrighteous. Greed disturbs the mind, the terror arising from within, that people do not realize. The greedy do not know righteousness, the truth. The greedy do not see the Dhamma, truth. That is to say, when greed overcomes a person, at that time, it becomes the darkness of ignorance. It is greed that gives rise to what is unrighteous. It is greed that disturbs the mind. People do not realize the terror that arises within the mind. The angry do not know righteousness. The angry do not see the Dhamma. That is to say, when anger overcomes a person, at that time, it becomes the darkness of ignorance. It is anger that gives rise to what is unrighteous. It is anger that disturbs the mind. People do not realize the terror that arises within the mind. The deluded do not know righteousness. The deluded do not see the Dhamma. That is to say, when delusion overcomes a person, at that time, it becomes the darkness of ignorance. It is delusion that gives rise to what is unrighteous. It is delusion that disturbs the mind. People do not realize the terror that arises within the mind. Thus also, because they rely on a place, they are called various dangers. This too was taught by the Blessed One. Great King, there are three things. These dhammas arise within a person for that which is not beneficial, for suffering, for an unpeaceful abode. What are these three things? Great King, indeed, the Dhamma of greed arises within a person for that which is not beneficial, for suffering, for an unpeaceful abode. Great King, indeed, the Dhamma of anger, briefly. Great King, indeed, the Dhamma of delusion arises within a person for that which is not beneficial, for suffering, for an unpeaceful abode. Great King, indeed, these three Dhammas arise within a person for that which is not beneficial, for suffering, for an unpeaceful abode. In verse it is said greed and anger and further, delusion harm a person of evil mind. Just as fruit-bearing bamboo destroys itself, the three things generated from oneself. Thus also, because they rely on a place, they are called various dangers. Furthermore, this too was taught by the Blessed One. In verse it is said, and greed, further anger, arising from causes themselves, arising from themselves. Discontent, pleasure, and hair-raising thoughts arise from themselves. Various thoughts arise from themselves, casting away good intentions, as youths cast away a tethered crow for play. Thus also, because they rely on a place, they are called various dangers. In the world means in the human world. Thus, in the world, how many dangers are there? For one who is going toward the yet unreached direction, nirvana. The yet unreached direction is explained as the deathless nirvana. That is to say, the complete cessation of all formations, the abandonment of all supports, the extinction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nirvana. a direction never gone to in the past. That direction is not a direction gone to in the past during this long period. In verse it is said, just as one carries a bowl brimming with oil to the edge without spilling. Thus, guard your own mind. If you seek the direction never gone to in the past. For one going toward the direction never gone to in the past. For one going, for one advancing. Thus, for one who is going toward the yet unreached direction. To conquer them is the monk. Them refers to those dangers, which should be equally conquered, should be completely covered, should be thoroughly taken away, should be trampled upon. Thus, to conquer them is the monk. In a remote dwelling place, in a remote place in the frontier, in the farthest frontier, or in a rocky remote area, or in a forested remote area, or in a riverside remote area, or in a waterside remote area where it is uncultivated, unsown, beyond human habitation, a dwelling place outside the sphere of human activity. Thus, in a remote dwelling place. Therefore, Elder Sariputta said, for one who is going toward the yet unreached direction nirvana. In the world, how many dangers are there? In a remote dwelling place, to conquer them is the monk, he said. 967. 961. What should be the various uses of words for him? What should be the various states of conduct in this world for him? For a monk who exerts himself fully, what should be the various precepts and rules? 7. What, for him, should be the various uses of words, ways of using words? Means asking, what kinds of word usage, what established use of words, what customary use of words, and what analogous use of words should he possess as he dwells in the world? This is an inquiry into the complete purity of speech. What constitutes the complete purity of speech? Here, a monk, 1. Having abandoned false speech, dwells having distanced himself from falsehood. He speaks the truth, adheres to the truth, is honest, reliable, and does not break his word to people. 2. Having abandoned divisive speech, dwells having distanced himself from divisiveness. He does not inform one side about the other to cause division, nor vice versa. On the contrary, he reconciles those who are divided and fosters harmony among those who are united. He delights in harmony, rejoices in it, finds pleasure in it, and speaks words that promote unity. 3. Having abandoned harsh speech, dwells having distanced himself from it. His words are flawless, pleasant to the ear, endearing, penetrating to the heart, refined, beloved by many, and agreeable to many. 4. Having abandoned idle chatter, dwells having distanced himself from it. He speaks at the right time, states facts, discusses meaning and doctrine, and explains the discipline. He utters words that are valuable, timely, reasonable, and accompanied by meaning. He possesses the 4 good verbal actions, abstaining from false speech, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. He speaks words free from the 4 stains and is detached, removed, distanced, dispassionate, liberated, unbound, and mentally unconstrained from the 32 animalistic discussions, pointless talk. He engages in 10 bases of discussion, namely, discussing 1. Contentment with little, few desires, 2. Contentment, 3. Seclusion, 4. Non-association, 5. Diligent effort, 6. Morality, 7. Concentration, 8. Wisdom, 9. Liberation, and 10. The knowledge of liberation. He also discusses the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the 4 right efforts, the 4 bases of spiritual power, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the noble path, the fruits of the ascetic life, and nirvana, through words, being self-controlled, mindful, thoroughly mindful, guarded, protected, watched over, and disciplined. This is the complete purity of speech. Possessing such complete purity of speech, he should dwell. Thus, what, for him, should be the various uses of words? What, for him, should be the various modes of conduct, behavioral practices in this world? Means asking, what mode of conduct, what established mode, what customary mode, and what analogous mode should he possess as he dwells in the world? This is an inquiry into modes of conduct. There exist 1. Correct modes of conduct and 2. Incorrect modes of conduct. 2. What constitutes an incorrect mode of conduct? Here, Some individuals dwell in the world frequenting prostitutes, widows, older women, young men, or nuns, or they associate improperly with kings, ministers, heretics, and their disciples. Or they habitually visit homes that lack faith, trust, or generosity toward monks, nuns, laymen, and lay women. Homes that revile, slander, and desire harm, loss, unrest, and bondage. They also enter towns and streets without mental discipline, gazing at elephants, horses, chariots, infantry, women, men, boys, girls, shops, doorways, upwards, downwards, and all around. This too is considered an incorrect mode of conduct. Further, through the eye, they see forms and grasp appearances and associated features. Similarly for ear, nose, tongue, body. Through the mind, they cognize mental objects, grasp appearances, and associated features. Due to uncontrolled mental faculties, evil and unwholesome qualities like greed and despondency flow in. Neglecting the practice for controlling the mind, failing to guard its faculties, and not cultivating mental discipline, this too is considered an incorrect mode of conduct. Moreover, some venerable monks and Brahmins, after consuming donated food, dwell indulging in spectacles. Dancing, singing, music, shows, storytelling, bells, cymbals, gongs, magic, acrobatics, combat between animals or humans, mock battles, military parades, or similar entertainments. Such indulgence is also considered an incorrect mode of conduct. The 5 attributes of desire, form, sound, smell, taste, touch, are also incorrect modes of conduct. The Blessed One taught, "Monks, do not tread the domain of others' improper conduct. For those who do, Mara gains an entry point and an object." Monks, what is the domain of others' improper conduct for a monk? It is the 5 attributes of desire. What are these 5? Forms cognizable by the eye that are agreeable, lovely, desirable, connected with desire, and worthy of attachment. And similarly sounds, smells, tastes, and tactile sensations. Monks, this is called the domain of others' improper conduct for a monk. This too is considered an incorrect mode of conduct. 1. What constitutes the correct mode of conduct? Herein, a monk does not frequent prostitutes, does not dwell as one who frequents widows, does not dwell as one who frequents older women, does not dwell as one who frequents young men, does not dwell as one who frequents nuns, and does not dwell as one who frequents taverns. He does not associate improperly with kings, ministers, heretics, or their disciples. Moreover, he avoids homes that lack faith, trust, or generosity toward monks, nuns, laymen, and lay women. Homes that revile, slander, and desire harm, loss, unrest, and bondage. Instead, he frequents homes that are faithful, trustworthy, generous, offer alms. Adorned with the robes of purity, visited by the winds of the noble ones, desiring righteousness, benefit, peace, and freedom from bonds. This is called the correct mode of conduct. Furthermore, when entering towns and streets, he walks with a controlled mind. He does not gaze at elephants, horses, chariots, infantry, women, men, girls, boys, shops, doorways, upwards, downwards, or all around. This too is called the correct mode of conduct. Moreover, a monk sees forms with the eye but does not grasp appearances. Similarly for sounds with the ear, smells with the nose, tastes with the tongue, touches with the body, and cognizes mental objects with the mind but does not grasp appearances or associated features. Since uncontrolled mental faculties allow evil and unwholesome qualities like greed and despondency to flow in, he practices for the sake of controlling them, guards the mental faculties, and establishes control over them. This too is called the correct mode of conduct. Furthermore, some venerable monks and Brahmins, after consuming donated food, do not indulge in spectacles. Dancing, singing, music, military parades, or similar entertainments. They dwell apart from such spectacles. This too is called the correct mode of conduct. The 4 establishments of mindfulness, contemplation of body, feelings, mind, and phenomena are also the correct mode of conduct. The Blessed One taught, "Monks, walk in your ancestral domain, which is your mode of conduct. For those walking in their ancestral domain, Mara gains no entry or object. Monks, what is the ancestral domain for a monk? It is the 4 establishments of mindfulness. What are these 4? Herein, a monk dwells contemplating the body in the body. Ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, removing covetousness and displeasure in the world. Similarly for feelings, mind, phenomena. This too is called the correct mode of conduct. Thus, what should be his modes of conduct in this world? What should be the various precepts and rules? Means asking, what precepts and rules, what established precepts and rules, what customary precepts and rules, and what analogous precepts and rules should he possess as he dwells in the world? This is an inquiry into the complete purity of precepts and rules. What constitutes the complete purity of precepts and rules? 1. There exist things that are both precepts and rules. 2. There exist things that are rules but not precepts. 1. How can something be both a precept and a rule? Herein, a monk dwells as one endowed with precepts, controlled by the code of discipline Padamaka, accomplishing right practice and right conduct, seeing danger in minor offenses, undertaking the training and learning the disciplinary rules. Self-restraint, control, and non-violation constitute the precepts, while undertaking constitutes the rules. By the meaning of control, it becomes a precept. By the meaning of undertaking, it becomes a rule. This is called both a precept and a rule. 2. How can something be a rule but not a precept? There are 8 ascetic practices. Dwelling in the forest, eating only alms food, wearing discarded cloth, possessing only 3 robes, walking without discrimination among homes, abstaining from food after the prescribed time, sitting without lying down, and staying wherever the sitting mat is spread. These are called rules but not precepts. The undertaking of diligence is also called a rule but not a precept. Let my skin, sinews, and bones dry up as they will, and let the flesh and blood of my body waste away. Unless the arrow of craving is destroyed, I shall not cease from effort. Such is the undertaking of diligence. This is called a rule but not a precept. In verse, I shall not eat, I shall not drink, I shall not leave the monastery, nor shall I lie down on my side, until the arrow of craving is shattered. He arouses and exerts his mind. Such a form of undertaking effort is also said to be a rule but not a precept. Until I break this cross-legged posture, until my mind, without grasping anything, is liberated from all defilements. He arouses and exerts his mind. Such a form of undertaking effort is also said to be a rule but not a precept. Until I rise from this seat, until I step down from this walking path for meditation, until I leave the monastery, until I leave the half-roof shelter, until I leave the upper story, until I leave the watchtower, until I leave the round hall, until I leave the assembly hall, until I leave the service hall, until I leave the tent, until I leave the root of this tree, until my mind, without grasping anything, is liberated from all defilements. He arouses and exerts his mind. Such a form of undertaking effort is also said to be a rule but not a precept. Truly, in this early morning time, I will bring about the noble Dhamma teaching. Equally bring it about, reach it, attain it and realize it. He arouses and exerts his mind. Such a form of undertaking effort is also said to be a rule but not a precept. Truly, in this midday time, in the evening time, before the meal, after the meal, in the first watch of the night early night, in the middle watch of the night midnight, in the last watch of the night dawn, in the dark fortnight waning moon, in the bright fortnight waxing moon, in the rainy season, in winter, in summer, in the early stage of life youth, in the middle stage of life adulthood, in the later stage of life old age, I will bring about the noble Dhamma teaching. Equally bring it about, reach it, attain it and realize it. He arouses and exerts his mind. Such a form of undertaking effort is also said to be a rule but not a precept. This is the complete purity of precepts and rules. A person should exist by possessing such complete purity of precepts and rules. Thus, what should be the various precepts and rules to exist? For a monk who strives with all his being with full dedication. Striving with all one's being means someone who makes efforts in all good qualities, has become strong, is resolute in diligence, does not abandon desire, is firm in faith, and does not abandon burdens, is patient. Moreover, or rather, for someone who commands oneself, namely, if oneself, along with its meaning, along with righteousness, along with characteristics, along with conditions, along with situations and non-situations, reasons and non-reasons, are commanded, then for that person. For someone who commands oneself, all formations are impermanent. For someone who commands oneself, all formations are suffering. For someone who commands oneself, all phenomena are non-self. For someone who commands oneself, conditioned by ignorance, there are formations. Refer to 324. Conditioned by birth, there is aging and death. For someone who commands oneself, with the cessation of ignorance, there is the cessation of formations. Refer to 324. With the cessation of birth, there is the cessation of aging and death. For someone who commands oneself, this is suffering. Refer to 324. This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. For someone who commands oneself, these are the defilements. Refer to 324. This is the path leading to the cessation of defilements. For someone who commands oneself, these qualities must be known. Refer to 324. These qualities must be realized. For someone who commands oneself regarding the 6 sense bases, the 6 touch bases, eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, mind base, their arising, their cessation, their pleasure, their danger, and their escape. For someone who commands oneself regarding the 5 aggregates of clinging, form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, consciousness, their arising, their cessation, their pleasure, their danger, and their escape. For someone who commands oneself regarding the 4 great elements, earth, water, fire, wind, their arising, their cessation, their pleasure, their danger, and their escape. For someone who commands oneself, whatever is of the nature of arising, all of it is of the nature of cessation. For a monk who is either a virtuous ordinary person or still a learner. Thus, for a monk striving with all his being. Thus, the elder Sariputta said, what should be the various uses of words, ways of using words, for him? What should be the various modes of conduct in this world for him? For a monk striving with all his being, what should be the various precepts and rules? 968. 962. By undertaking what kind of learning does he become one with a unified mind, wise, mindful, and purify himself of impurities like a silversmith removing dross from silver? By undertaking what kind of learning means by taking, undertaking, grasping, equally grasping, acquiring, adhering to, and clinging to what kind of learning? Thus, by undertaking what kind of learning? One whose mind becomes unified, wise, and mindful. One whose mind is unified refers to a person with one-pointedness of mind, without distraction, without disorderly intentions, endowed with tranquility, samatha, concentration's faculty, indriya, concentration's power, bala, and right concentration, samma samadhi. Wise refers to the wise ones, the sagacious, those with wisdom, insight, knowledge, discernment, and prudence. Becoming mindful means becoming mindful through 4 bases. One who practices the establishment of mindfulness by contemplating the body and the body becomes mindful. One who practices the establishment of mindfulness by contemplating feelings and feelings. In brief, the mind in the mind. In brief, phenomena in phenomena becomes mindful. In brief, c. 3133. Such a person is called mindful. What kind of learning does he undertake? This asks about the superior training in morality. Becoming one whose mind is unified asks about the superior training in meditation. Becoming wise asks about the superior training in wisdom. Becoming mindful asks about perfect purity. Thus, what kind of learning does he undertake to become one whose mind is unified, wise, and mindful? Does he remove his own impurities as a metal worker removes impurities from silver? A metal worker is called a goldsmith. Silver is referred to as gold. For example, just as a goldsmith blows away and removes coarse impurities from gold, equally blows away and removes medium impurities, and similarly fine impurities, precisely in this way, a monk blows away and removes his own coarse mental defilements, equally blows away and removes them, abandons, eliminates, brings to cessation, and makes them stateless. He also deals with medium mental defilements and fine mental defilements in the same manner. Moreover, or rather, a monk removes his own impurities of greed, anger, delusion, conceit, wrong views, mental defilements, evil deeds, that which causes blindness, that which creates eyelessness, that which generates ignorance, the cessation of wisdom, that which enumerates suffering, and that which arises for what is not nirva. He blows them away, equally blows them away, removes, abandons, eliminates, brings to cessation, and makes them stateless. Furthermore, or rather, through right view, Samadhi, he blows away, equally blows away, removes, abandons, eliminates, brings to cessation, and makes stateless wrong view, Mikadithi. Through right thought, Sama Sankappa, wrong thought, Mika Sankappa. In brief, through right speech, Samavaka, wrong speech, Mika Vaka. Through right action, Samakamanta, wrong action, Mika Kamanta. Through right livelihood, Sama Ajiva, wrong livelihood, Mika Ajiva. Through right effort, Samavayama, wrong effort, Mika Vayama. Through right mindfulness, Samasati, wrong mindfulness, Mika Sati. Through right concentration, Sama Samadhi, wrong concentration, Mika Samadhi. Through right knowledge, Sama A with Makron A, wrong knowledge, Mika A with Makron A. Through right liberation, Sama Vimudi, wrong liberation, Mika Vimudi. He blows them away, equally blows them away, removes, abandons, eliminates, brings to cessation, and makes them stateless. Furthermore, or rather, through the Noble Eightfold Path, he blows away, equally blows away, removes, abandons, eliminates, brings to cessation, and makes stateless all mental defilements, all evil actions, all distress, all suffering, all heat of anguish, and all unwholesome conduct. Thus, does he remove his own impurities as a metalworker removes impurities from silver? Thereby, Elder Sariputta said, what kind of learning does he undertake to become one whose mind is unified, wise, and mindful, and who removes his own impurities as a metalworker removes impurities from silver? 969. 963. Thus the Blessed One answered, Sariputta, for one who has renounced worldly life, there is indeed this peaceful abode, if he is accustomed to sitting and lying places that have been abandoned. For one desiring enlightenment, according to the Dhamma, I will declare it to you exactly as I have realized it. 9. For one who has renounced worldly life, for one who renounces worldly life due to birth, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, despair, conflict, briefly, see 1855. Due to the suffering of calamities of wrong views, for one who suffers, self-reproaches and renounces. Thus, for one who has renounced worldly life. Indeed, there is this peaceful abode. Indeed, there is this peaceful dwelling which I will explain. What is this peaceful dwelling? The right path, the path that follows the truth, the path without opposition, the path without obstruction, the path that accords with righteousness, the path where Dhamma follows Dhamma, the fulfillment of moral precepts, guarding the sense faculties, knowing moderation in food, devotion to wakefulness, mindfulness and clear comprehension, the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the 4 right efforts, the 4 bases of psychic power, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path, and furthermore nirva and the path leading to nirva. This is the peaceful dwelling. Thus, for one who has renounced worldly life, indeed, there is this peaceful abode. Thus, the Blessed One answered, Sariputta, addressing the elder by name, Blessed One Bhagavant, is a synonym for respect. Furthermore, or rather, one who has destroyed greed, Bhaga, and thus, Blessed One. One who has destroyed anger, and thus, Blessed One. One who has destroyed delusion, and thus, Blessed One. One who has destroyed conceit, and thus, Blessed One. One who has destroyed wrong views, and thus, blessed one. One who has destroyed thorns, craving, and thus, blessed one. One who has destroyed mental defilements, and thus, blessed one. One who has divided bhaji, thoroughly categorized the Dhamma treasure, and thus, blessed one. One who brings to an end